man that needs no introduction. His Excellency, Governor Emeritus Wike. Even as he was speaking, you could see the passion. You could see the love that he has for this country. Your Excellency, I was one of those who commissioned projects during your tenure when you were governor. So we welcome you, but this is the Nigerian Senate. And one of the things that the public worries about is that sometimes we play more politics with our voices. But when we get into office, we close the door against Nigerians. Will you be open? Will you have an open door policy so that all Nigerians can access you, even the poor, those with problems? Will you also be in a position to allow proper oversight of whichever ministry is given to you by legislators? Because those are the things that concern us. Being accessible to the people that you are meant to serve, and also allowing proper oversight for accountability. Deputy Senate President.
I represent Kaduna North. I am from Kaduna State. Let me start by congratulating the nominee for his nomination as a Minister of the Federal Republic. I wish to further inform this Senate that the resolve of the 3 senators from Kaduna State, in consultation with the people of Kaduna State from across the political divide, have resolved and agreed that we should support the nomination of this very important nominee. Furthermore, the nominee is from Kaduna State, an bona fide indigenous of Kaduna State. Secondly, he appeared before these hallowed chambers sometimes in 2003, and he was screened and cleared. And precisely, he is a person that is well known nationally and internationally. He has the capacity to continue with the good deed he's been doing while he was a minister. In this regard, I want to urge the Senate to consider this, and also, based on the established precedents that was established yesterday, in respect of his colleagues, the 2 governors who came and appeared before us. Nobody asked them questions. Because of their pedigree, they were asked to take a bow and go. We therefore, I urge the Senate, even with the questions that was asked, that the Senate do ask the nominee to take a bow and go. We know him, we know he's capable. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Karimi.
Thank you, Mr. President. As said by previous speakers, El-rufai is well known to all of us, Nigerians, and in fact, to the international community. And as agreed by all of us, he has done very well in all the offices occupied, from DG BPE to FCT Minister and 2-time Governor of Kaduna State. I had a question before, but given the President said by this Senate yesterday regarding the 2 other governors who were asked to take a bow and go, I want to join my colleagues to insist and to request that he should take a bow and go. Let us say. Yeah? Take a bow. I don't submit.
Thank you very much. Order, please. I think we have gotten enough questions. Then we can allow you to go, bow and go. Yes. And Karimi, you came forward with, I don't know whether you follow the normal something, but, well, order, please. Order, please. Whatever is the case, this is an opportunity for nominees to explain, to showcase themselves. Then later we'll come to the confirmation and approval. So, Mr. Nominee, you can please answer the questions so that, and then you bow and go.
Distinguished colleagues, my name is Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. Everybody here will attest to the credibility of the nominee when it comes to performance in every assignment he has undertaken for this country. And he is not different from any other one that have also performed in other places. There were 2 governors that have been here for screening, and there was a precedent. And that precedent, as a convention in chambers like this, must be sustained. And as such, I want to propose that El-rufai should take his bow and go. And then all other things can be determined when we come to the confirmation stage. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Danjuma Goji.
The esteemed nominee, His Excellency, former Governor of Rivers State, Wike, to the hallowed chambers of the Senate for a screening. We just want you to give us a brief resume of yourself and anything you think the Nigerian public does not know yet, which you want to reveal. So the floor is yours.
In Nigeria, and I represented Africa and Commonwealth of Local Government. After that, I became the Chief of Staff to the government of Rivers State in 2007. Thereafter, I became a Minister of State Education and then became the Supervisory Minister of Education. In 2014, I resigned and went to run for the governorship of Rivers State. I became the governor of Rivers State in 2015. Again, I recontested in 2019 and won. To the glory of God, I served out my tenure, May 29, 2023. As governor, it's on record in this country. Everybody will attest the fact that I changed the landscape of Port Harcourt. It's on record. In 4 years, I constructed 12 flyovers in 4 years. Not by any contractor, but Jealous Beggar Nigeria Limited. One of you, Mr. President, will attest to the fact that you have even come to Rivers State to commission projects. Eminent Nigerians in both, or it does not matter which affiliation, whether you're a politician, whether you're not a politician, whether you belong to Party A or you belong to Party B, all have come to Rivers State to commission projects. And I can tell you, what is important, there's no thing like magic. What is important is what passion do you have? What commitment do you love your people? And I can say, as a governor, then, in my 4 years, in the second tenure, I've never left my state and slept outside my state. I've made sure that I'm in my state to take the challenges, to solve the problems of my people. And that's why when I was living like a hero. They escorted me home, where women brought out their wrappers and laid on the ground and said, march on the wrapper, welcome our son. You have done very, very well. Till 27th of May
while I was living 27th of May, Mr. Senate President, I was commissioning, I was flagging off a project. These things can be achieved if you are committed, if you have passion for the job. There are so many people who want to be minister, who want to be governor, for the sake that I was a governor, for the sake that I was a minister. But there are those who say, look, what do I want to offer? Am I committed to this job? And I thank Mr. President for nominating me. I believe, knowing how hungry Mr. President is to solving the problems of Nigeria, we have no choice but to give him that required support. And I can assure you, if I'm confirmed, in whatever capacity, Mr. President will not regret nominating me. Thank you, and God bless you.
Distinguished colleagues, before you is a man that needs no introduction. His Excellency, Governor Emeritus Wike. Even as he was speaking, you could see the passion. You could see the love that he has for this country. Your Excellency, I was one of those who commissioned projects during your tenure when you were governor. So we welcome you, but this is the Nigerian Senate. And one of the things that the public worries about is that sometimes we play more politics with our voices. But when we get into office, we close the door against Nigerians. Will you be open? Will you have an open door policy so that all Nigerians can access you, even the poor, those with problems? Will you also be in a position to allow proper oversight of whichever ministry is given to you by legislators? Because those are the things that concern us. Being accessible to the people that you are meant to serve, and also
carry me Sunday. I represent Kogi West. My Excellency Governor Nasir El-Rufai, your performance in any office you find yourself in this country has been outstanding. In BPE, your record is there. In FCT as a minister, your record is there. And as two-time governor of Kaduna State, you did well. But I have a very strong petition against you that borders on security, unity, and cohesiveness of Nigerian nation. And I think that petition has to be considered along in this screening exercise.
Senator Sani Musa.
Leader of the Senate. These are not our nominees. These are presidential nominees. And then, accompanying each nominee should actually be security report, which is not for the consumption of the public. And we cannot use a public forum like this to ask people to constitute ourselves into a court and start asking questions about petitions. But if the petitions are substantial.
Distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, my name is Nasir Ahmad El-rufai. I am standing before you as a result of being nominated to be a minister of the government of the Federation. I was born about 63 years ago in Daudawa, a village in Katsina State. And I attended primary school in Daudawa and Kao, Kaduna. Then went to Barewa College between 1972 and 1976. Completed the West African School Certificate and went to Ahmadu Bello University, where I graduated in 1980 with a degree in quantity surveying. 2 years later, I went back to school to get a master's in business administration from the same university, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. And a year later, completed a postgraduate diploma in computer science. Subsequently, in years ahead, I got a law degree from the University of London and NLB from University of London, a master's in public administration from Harvard University Kennedy School of Government. I started my business as a consulting quantity surveyor in 1981 after completing my youth service in Ogun State, and I served in Abeokuta with a company called George Wimpy Nigeria Limited, then building the Oyan River Dam. I worked for a few months, the construction company building the ABU Teaching Hospital before establishing the quantity surveying consulting firm, El-rufai and Partners. The firm still exists. It's one of the largest quantity surveying firms in the country. It's being run by my partners. I left the firm since 1998 when I was asked by General Abdul Salam Abubakar to be one of his policy advisors after the death of General Sani Abacha. During the handover to President-elect Obasanjo, the President-elect promised me that he would want to invite me to work with him when he takes over, and he did. I was appointed the Director General of the Bureau of Public Enterprises, where I was tasked to kickstart the federal government privatization program, which had been suspended since 1993. During that period, for the next 4 years from 1999, I was in charge of the program. And it was during this period that we privatized most of the banks, commercial banks, cement, sugar companies, vehicle assembly plants. And we also designed and steered the reforms in key sectors like telecommunications, which turned out to be quite successful. We also started reforms in the electricity supply industry and oil and gas. In fact, the first draft of what turned out to be the Petroleum Industry Act was drafted by the BPE when I was in charge. Some of the distinguished senators here were either in the House of Representatives or in the executive branch, like distinguished Senator Goje, who was Minister of State for Power. We all worked together to steer these reforms ahead. I was then appointed Minister of the Federal Capital Territory after confirmation by the Senate. So this is the second time I'm coming back to these distinguished chambers. The first time was 20 years ago, in 2003, when I was confirmed and appointed Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. I administered Abuja for 4 years, and thereafter I went back to school. That's when I acquired my law degree and my MPA from Kennedy School of Government. I came back to Nigeria after a short period of exile in May 2010 and joined the CPC under the leadership of General Muhammadu Buhari. Eventually, the CPC, of course, merged with other parties to form the APC. And I'm proud to say that I'm one of the founding members of the APC. I'm one of the 37 first set of officers that signed and filled the INEC form that got the All Progressive Congress registered. And I've remained a member since then. In 2015, I was elected the governor of Kaduna State and re-elected in 2019. Your Excellencies, this is a short summary of my life, my education, experience, private sector and public service career. Thank you, Mr. President. The distinguished senators, for the very warm remarks made on my person and on my public service record, I want to convey my gratitude to the Senate for this recognition. My brother, the distinguished senator from Zamfara State and our former chairman of the Governors Forum, asked 3 questions, all centered around the electricity supply industry. I will take them together because they are all connected. My brother asked about how do we ramp up generation and distribution. What do we do about the privatized discourse and the issues of subsidies and illiquidity around them, and the various guarantees that have so far costed the government more than 1.6 trillion after privatization. Your Excellencies, the electricity supply situation in Nigeria has defied every government for 60 years. It has defied every president. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is committed to ensuring that Nigeria has stable and reliable electricity supply. Because without electricity, industrialization is a pipe dream. Without electricity, even agriculture today is not a viable proposition. So he's committed to that, and he has asked me to work with him to address these problems. And I will do my best to do so. Your Excellencies, right now Nigeria has about 13,000 megawatts of installed generation capacity, but we hardly do more than 4,000 or 5,000 megawatts. So to improve generation, the first order of business is to look at what is constraining the full production of electricity from these 13,000 megawatts. Why do we have 13,000 installed and only 4,000 or 5,000 being produced? Many of the generation stations cannot produce because of poor supply of gas. 80% of our generation is from gas, and the balance is hydro. The gas-fired stations often don't have supply of gas. There are power stations that have been completed 2 or 3 years ago, and they have produced nothing because there is no gas supply. So that's another thing that must be addressed. We must ensure that gas and power are together under one roof for this issue of gas supply, which has persisted for over 20 years, to be resolved. But Your Excellency, even if we are able to generate 13,000 megawatts today, our transmission infrastructure can only do 5,000, maybe 6,000 at best. So the second major constraint to electricity supply in Nigeria is the transmission infrastructure. We need to close the loop in our transmission system so that the 13 system collapses we had in 2022 are not repeated again in our history. And this can be done. There is money to expand the transmission infrastructure. We just need to organize ourselves, remove politics from transmission procurement, and focus on improving our transmission infrastructure. The third problem is distribution. In 2013, we privatized our distribution companies, 11 of them, 60% to the private sector, 40% to be held by government. The idea is that the 40% is supposed to be listed on the stock exchange so that every Nigerian will be a shareholder in these companies. But that has not happened. 10 years after privatization, the government is still, in one way or the other, subsidizing electricity. As I said, the last time we checked, it was about 1.6 trillion in a privatized environment. This is unsustainable and unacceptable. But what do we do with the distribution companies? They have been privatized. About 5 or 6 of them are under receivership because those that bought the companies borrowed from banks and have not been paying the banks. So the banks have taken over 5 or 6 of them. And the last time we did a stress test on the distribution companies, only about 3 of them out of 11 are doing well. So there is a lot of work to be done regarding distribution because distribution is the last end of the electricity supply chain. If it does not work, if they don't collect money, if they don't have enough metering, then they would not be able to pay for power supplied by the generation companies. And when they are unable to pay, the gap is what the government now pays. Otherwise, they will invoke the partial risk guarantee posted by the federal government of Nigeria. So this is a major problem and has to be addressed. But in the short term, the liquidity situation in the electricity supply industry has to be looked at. Tariffs must be cost reflective, and even the ownership of these distribution companies may have to change because right now the banks own about 6 of them. They control 60% of the shares, and banks are not good at running companies. They are good at taking out whatever they need to recover their loan. So we intend, if given the opportunity, to sit and work out a system in which perhaps we'll be able to attract fresh capital, fresh new investors with technical and financial capacity into the distribution chain so that it can be expanded. The opportunity to do so exists because 6, as I said, out of the 11 are in receivership. 3 are doing okay. The others are 50-50, but a holistic approach is needed. And Your Excellencies, this is a problem that requires the support of everyone. It's not just Mr. President who will lead from the front, but also the National Assembly. Certain amendments to the Electricity Act 2023 may be needed. Certain amendments to the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 may be needed to bring this sector to align so that we provide Nigerians stable and reliable electricity. The President's vision is that within 7 years, we will not have power outages in this country. The President is saddened by the fact that countries like Benin Republic, Cameroon, Niger, our neighbors that are smaller countries, have reliable electricity. You don't see power cuts in these countries yet. With all our resources and our capabilities and the quality of people we have as a nation, we are unable to provide electricity to our households and our businesses. And he's committed to working with everyone to ensure that this happens. And I urge the National Assembly to be a partner to make this happen. There are many parts of Nigeria that are not covered by the grid. The new Electricity Act provides the states with greater involvement now in the electricity supply industry. And what is happening in the world provides an opportunity for Nigeria to attract a lot of resources into the renewable energy sector, utilizing solar, wind, and even nuclear. And we are not ruling out using our coal reserves to establish power stations that will constitute the base load for the stability of the power system. So all options will be looked at. Metering is a big issue. A lot of progress has been made by some of the distribution companies in the last 3 or 4 years with the support of the central bank and the World Bank. And every house should be metered. Every household, every business should be metered. Estimated billing is not acceptable. But in addition, Your Excellency, distinguished senators, Nigeria must take a hard stance against those that steal electricity, those that get electricity by diverting cables and not paying. We must take a hard-line stance if this sector is to work. A lot of advocacy is necessary because, as the distinguished senator correctly pointed out, people believe that water and electricity should be free. They are social services. They are not. They cost money to produce. The least you can do is to pay back for the cost of production. And if you're handing it to the private sector needs a return on its investment over and above the cost of production. This was the intention of the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005, which this National Assembly enacted, and it is continued in the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2023. I hope, Your Excellency, I have responded to all your questions. Distinguished Senate President, I would like to say 1 or 2 words before I leave. The distinguished senator from Kogi talked about a petition against me.
Distinguished colleagues, perhaps I should inform you that I've received petitions from many other people in respect of other nominees. But this is not where we are to deal with petitions. Our job here is to screen. And then, of course, we can refer petitions to where petitions will be dealt with. These are the nominees of Mr. President. If it is something that is a formal petition before the Senate, we will look at it formally. But there are certain petitions we have to refer back to either the presidency or security agencies to look at. And that has nothing to do with us. So I think by the time we are going into the issue of confirmation and approval, we will be so advised. So I will want to plead with my brother to take a bow. So don't bother about. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.